Well, hello. This is going to be the first video I'm going to do on the new rebranded content. And just to explain, another thing I forgot to mention before, people had said to me, your previous videos really helped. You should leave them up because it may help people in the future. And I was going to take them all down, but maybe there's a point there. But in time, obviously, the new content I'm going to do will obviously overlap those. But they're still going to be there, and I was thinking of actually starting off a brand new channel with it, whatever. But the end of the day is, anybody looking at those videos as I talk about those 28 years will think, what's he on about? So at least people can understand where I'm coming from if they want to go back in my murky past in those 28 years. It's all there. So today I'm going to talk about a band called Badfinger. It's from a song from this album. I must be honest, I've only got one Badfinger CD, and it's this one, and we all know why this came out. I knew Badfinger songs, only two Badfinger songs I ever knew when I was growing up. One of them was called Come and Get It. It might have been their first single. And Badfinger were signed by the Beatles on the Apple label, and Come and Get It was written by Paul McCartney. And yeah, I think most people know the song. It goes, if you want it, here it is, come and get it. It's a really good song. But when McCartney gave it to Badfinger, because he had a surplus of songs, he had actually demoed the whole thing, recorded the whole thing on his own, which you can actually play on the Beatles anthology albums, or you might be able to look it up on YouTube. And he said to the members of Badfinger, I want you to do it exactly the way I've done it. And if you listen to the two versions, it is exactly the same. Yeah, there's no difference at all, to be honest with you. But that's the only song that I remember that they did. And another song I do remember of theirs was called No Matter What. However, I didn't know the Badfinger something songs. They're just songs which were around in this, you know, when I was growing up in like 1971, 70, that sort of time. They were out at that point. And that was it. You know, Badfinger, I never bought any of those albums. That was the end of that connection. And then what happened is around about 1983, there was a documentary on the TV. I think it was the end of 83, it might have been the beginning of 84. I never saw it, and it was called something like Badfinger, the unluckiest band in the world. And I sadly missed it, unfortunately. But my mum told me that two members of Badfinger actually hung themselves, and you know, you do get, sadly, suicides in bands, and a lot of the people I like, I don't know why this is the case, that quite often the artist or somebody within the band commits suicide. Quite often it's because of lack of commercial success, and as I go do these videos, some of these people, that was what happened to them. And in the case of Badfinger, that certainly played the part. A lot of artists, unfortunately, are too quick to sign contracts, and they end up signing a bad contract. They get ripped off by managers, record labels. They don't even own the rights to their own songs half the time. It's just, honestly, it's absolutely a quagmire of ripping young people off. It probably still goes on today. And this certainly happened in the case of Badfinger. Badfinger, my mum told me that what I remember, that two members of the band hung themselves. I think one had recently hung himself, another one had hung himself like 8 years before, which seems extraordinary. But apparently the two people hung themselves were the two people who wrote the song, which everybody knows was called Without You, which was made famous by Harry Nilsson. Of course, everybody knew that song. I didn't know that the two members of Badfinger, Pete Ham, he'd sung. It was Pete Ham and Tommy Evans. They'd collaborated. I think they were writing two separate songs and welded them together and did this song called Without You, which Nielsen heard, and then he made it. And then Nielsen's version is way better. If you listen to the Badfinger version of Without You, it's not that good, to be honest with you. And that was it. So my mum told me the story, and I thought, wow, how sad that two members of the same band hung themselves. You know, what other band has that ever happened to? And that was in 1983, or maybe the beginning of 84. Now we're going to fast forward now, and we're going to go to, this is how synchronicity, you know, it comes into my life again in relation to music. So what happened was when I was in the Rutherglen congregation, a bunch of Scousers came up from some congregation in Liverpool. It might have been for Zachary, no idea, it could be I don't know. And they came up, and they were all like, you know, a lot of them are musicians, like a lot of people in Liverpool are musicians or singers or whatever. And they were performing in a little small theatre, and you know, they wanted to come on and wanted all the witnesses to go and see them playing live, wholesome music or whatever. And which is a bit unusual for Rutherglen, because you know, I used to go on and play you know, if I went and did a song in a wedding, I literally emptied the building. You know, it's like, you know, oh my god, guys doing worldly music. But all of a sudden, we as witnesses, including somebody who really didn't like my music, we were all going to see these bunch of brothers from Liverpool performing in this hall, and it was a real good night. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So now what happened was that one of the people who performed that night was a guy called Tony Lawrence, who was he's a black guy. I don't know if his mum and dad were black, but obviously one of his parents were black, and he was a black dude, and he had a wonderful singing voice. He literally is the way he sung was just superb, an amazing singer. And he met a lassie in Rutherglen who had 3 children. She was divorced. Called Tina Knight, and within a few weeks of meeting they were engaged, which was shock, horror, scandal, and shortly afterwards they got married. And of course everybody was saying, how can you get married? You've only known each other because of the distance, a couple of visits, and you get married. You've like known each other, you know, you sort of, you know, maybe count on a watch how long they spent time together before they were engaged. So they got married, and I can't remember going to the wedding. I don't know if the wedding was down there or up in Glasgow. I can't remember. However, what happened was after my son was born in 1999, we went to our first holiday in Cornwall and to see the eclipse, the total eclipse. And what a washout that was, because the day of the eclipse, the cloud came over and basically... we couldn't see it. What a letdown. So the following year I said, right, that's it. We're not doing holidays in England ever again. We'll go back to, as we've been doing prior to Benjamin being born, we'll go back to going holiday abroad. And we booked to go to Crete. We got to a place in Crete, which we booked through like Thomas Cook or wherever it is, and that was before the time you could do the internet. Literally, you went into the shop and the lassie put you through all the bookings, all that shenanigans. So we were going to a place that provided, you know, accommodation in Crete, and I thought, right, okay, that'll be good. And then I was at work, and next thing is my phone went, and it was my mother-in-law. She says, "Oh, isn't that good news?" I'm going, "What you on about?" "Yeah, we're coming along with you on holiday." I was going, "Oh my God, I don't believe this." And so somehow my wife had decided that'd be a really good idea to bring my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. But my father-in-law was, you know, he was struggling with Parkinson's at the time, and my mother-in-law had different ailments and needed like a sort of thing to walk along with. And I just thought, what sort of use are they going to be with us, with our son on holiday? It's only just going to make things more difficult for us, which is funny enough exactly the way it ended up being. So it came to the day of the holiday. We all go to Glasgow Airport. Now it's saying Glasgow Airport. We've probably flown mostly from Manchester Airport because there's more routes to go to, more destinations, but we're flying from Glasgow Airport this time. So we went through security. That's the party of 5, me, my wife, Benji, my mother and father-in-law, and we've got I think we had three suitcases. I think one of them may have just been full of nappies. I'm pretty sure it was, and we also had one of those buggies which folded down. It was just a complete palaver, and my father-in-law's having to carry both his case and my mother-in-law's case. Anyway, we managed to get through. Before security, because I don't do that anymore, you put your cases on the way. No, that's all. That's hooray. That's all we've got is the buggy to get on the plane now. And we went round into the departure lounge, and next thing is we look over and go, oh my God, there's Tina and Tony. And it was surely, I don't think it was long after they'd been married. We go, all right, Tina, all right, Tony. And they go, all right, you. And where are you going? He says, oh, we're going to Crete. I'm going, oh my goodness, what a coincidence, we're going to Crete as well, we'll see you later. So of course we went off and had some food and went to the duty free shop and whatever, and then next thing is it came up to go to the boarding gate for the departure, which is whatever gate it was, but who cares. So we went down there, and there's Tony and Tina. All right, Tony and Tina, how we going? We're going on the same plane, so of course we were all going to go on the same plane. So they, because there was a party of 5, a baby and my in-laws, Tony and Tina, they were in front of us, and I think we passed them. I think they were, seated closer to the front of the plane, and we passed, all right, Tony and Tina again for about the 3rd time. So we all went on and we sat down, and the flight took off and all that. And back in the days, we actually got meals on planes. Remember those days? And we got to Crete, and they came up. They got off the plane and they too ran away to us. Oh, all right, goodbye, enjoy your holiday. So that was all right. So because we were going to take long to get off the plane. So we went down the steps and we got down to the carousel, and there was Tony and Tina again. So, oh my God, this sounds like a Laurel and Hardy sketch. Have you ever seen a Laurel and Hardy sketch where there's a bit where they're going to go for a day trip and they're all saying goodbye to all the neighbours about 10 times? It was like that. So we all went down to the carousel. So we're waiting. So of course we're waiting for like at least 5 suitcases to come off, and Tony and Tina only had a case each, and next thing is they both got the case each, and next thing is it was the final goodbye, thank God, goodbye, right, goodbye, you enjoy your holiday, we'll enjoy our holiday, blah blah blah. So next thing is, they go off into the distance, and we'll say, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks on the plane, we'll see you at the plane going back. So we finally got all our bags together. Sometimes like sometimes on the carousel, you're waiting for the one bag which just goes on. You've got your 4 bags, but that last bag takes a hell of a long time before it comes off that carousel. And you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and everybody else is going, what, you did 6 bags, they gone before us, where's our last bag? It should have gone at the same time. So eventually the bag came off. We got all the stuff. So the party 5, we all move on and we go through into the arrivals bit. Whereupon the representative from the travel company said, right, okay, what is it? Party 5. Okay, right, okay, you're in coach L. So right, okay, that's fine. So coach L, we've got it. Yeah, we've got all the bags on one of those little trolley things, like pile of bags. I'm pushing it on, and my wife's pushing Benji, and my mother and father are pushing each other. We got up to the coach, and the coach driver's there, and literally he's throwing the cases on. he's probably on basic pay, so I know how he feels. So he's throwing the cases on the coach, and the next thing is we ascend the stairs. But who sat right at the front of the bus? Hiya, Tony and Tina. Going, oh my God, they're on the same bus. And says, what a coincidence. And so, okay, so let's see. Yes, says, we're saying, oh well, he says, well, we might end up in the same resort. So of course the bus goes on and it goes to one resort and drops off people, and we're all looking at each other thinking, God, I'm glad I'm not in that resort. And next thing is we go to the hotel, and we're going, oh God, I'm not in that hotel. So eventually a bit further down the road, I'm still looking at, is Tony and Tina still on the coach? Yeah, they are. God, they haven't got off yet. I wonder if they're getting off before us or after us. So next thing is we stop, and next thing is the woman says, right, okay, and on this stop, it's the Lawrence family and the party 5. And I thought, oh my God, we are in the same resort. What are the chances? So of course we all get off. We get all our bags together. The driver then, did the driver get off? I can't remember. But basically, the suitcases are pulled off. So they're all piled up at the side, and next thing is I'm having to struggle with it. Of course, there's no trolley anymore, so it's like all the cases again. And the lassie says, right, okay, yes, party 5, Lawrence family, you're all in this hotel here. I'm going, I do not believe this. We've ended up being in the same hotel as people we know, and we all booked independently of each other. And like I said, it was a coincidence, because quite often we've flown from other airports. So of course, as the 2 weeks went on, you know, it was a bit odd, because they'd be one side of the pool and we'd be this side of the pool. And occasionally, I think my wife went on a scuba diving with them too, and I stayed back with Benji. And the next thing is, we went to the beach and that, and one night we decided all to go out into a karaoke bar, which of course, I love the old karaoke, even though I'm not the world's best singer, and not the world's worst actually. We went in, and Tony, being the top chanter he was, he goes up and he does a Drifter song. And Tony doesn't need to look at the lyrics, because he'd been singing songs like that apparently since the late 60s, and he faced the audience, you know, and was doing a performance, singing them spotlessly, you know, just not singing out of tune, fantastic. So he was that good that the karaoke guy says, can you sing this Drifter song as well? Right, okay, so he loads up another Drifter song, so he was singing another Drifter song, and this went on during the night. I went up and did my Summer of '69, and, you know, and struggled with the high notes as usual, and Tony went back up and did some more songs. But the point of this is that Tony eventually came back down, and we were speaking about his upbringing in Liverpool, because it was just across the way from where I was in the Wirral. And I was singing, I says, how come you know the songs so well? He says, well, I used to perform in Liverpool bands in the late 60s, early 70s, and I was going like this, oh my God, maybe he knew the Beatles. And so of course I went and said, did you know anybody famous? Because basically, to be honest with you, of a certain age, and enough, everybody in Liverpool claims that they sat behind Paul McCartney at school. This is absolutely true. Or my granny sat next to Paul McCartney, or my granny sat in front of Paul McCartney. And I said to Tony, did you know anybody famous? And he said, yeah, I was best mates with Tommy Evans out of Badfinger. And I went, and all of a sudden then, this must have been the year 2000, this was May 2000, then I went back to 1984, 1983, and that documentary that my mum had seen, and I went, Badfinger, I said, is that the two guys, that's the band where the two guys killed themselves? And he said, yeah. And you can actually see that even after all these years, because Tommy Evans hung himself in 1983, that if Tony still found it upsetting to talk about it. And he said he was such a lovely boy, such a lovely lad, and they'd been, you know, mates in Liverpool, because Tommy Evans had been in a band in Liverpool when the members of, they weren't called Badfinger then, I think they were called the Ivies, went to Liverpool to try and recruit, you know, that's where it was the hive of activity for musicians to recruit extra members to the band. That's how Tommy Evans got to join them. And I just thought, Tony never ever told me which band he was in, but subsequently I think he was in a band called the In Crowd, which I think was the first sort of black band in Liverpool, which over its like 12-year life or whatever had various members, and I found out that there was a Tony Lawrence joining that band as a bass player. It might have not been him, but unfortunately I can't ask Tony anymore, because obviously he's still in the Doomsday Cult and I'm not, although I am actually friends with his stepdaughter on Facebook, so maybe I should ask her. So, moving on again, I still never went and bought any Badfinger songs at that point. And now you know where we're going. We're going to Breaking Bad, I think it was about 2010. And if anybody know, if you've watched Breaking Bad, the very last scene as Walter White's dying, all of a sudden this song comes on, and it's a song by Badfinger, and it's not the song that I'm going to talk about. They come on and did the song, which one was it again? Baby Blue. I'm going to forget that. It was Baby Blue. And as a result, loads of people then started to try and find out who sung Baby Blue, looked it up, found it was Badfinger, then went onto YouTube, and literally the counts just went boom, 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 and just went shot up, because everybody, all the millions of people who'd gone through the whole of Breaking Bad, wanted to hear Baby Blue. And then loads of people in the comment section, are you only here because of Breaking Bad? As a result of the new interest in Badfinger, this compilation was released called Badfinger Timeless, because of course I wanted to get a good version of Baby Blue as well. And then when it turned up, then I realised, oh God, this is the band that sung, you know, Come and Get It, and No Matter What. And then the song which I absolutely love is the first song on the CD. In fact, I'll just show the CD there. The two boys that killed themselves here, that's Peter Ham and Tommy Evans there. And the song Day After Day. And the reason why Day After Day to me is such a wonderful song is because during the recording of Day After Day, because they were recording in the EMI studios, I believe it was. Of course, the Beatles, you know, used those studios, and George Harrison of the Beatles got really involved with. He thought Pete Ham was a genius, and if you listen to the slide guitar at the beginning, if you listen to that guitar, apparently that's Pete Ham and George Harrison playing dual slide guitars. And if you ever do a YouTube on Here Comes the Sun at the concert for Bangladesh, it's George Harrison singing and Pete Ham is playing the acoustic guitar. And eventually George had to get so involved with trying to get the releases for the whole of the concert Bangladesh that he gave up producing the song Day After Day. And apparently that was a Badfinger, because it was so overproduced, thought we can't reproduce this live. But if you listen to it, what a fantastic song. So just think about that song, think about the people involved, and listen to the song yourself. I'll put a link to it, to a video of it, and it's the last 4 minutes whatever. But anyway, that's my first recommendation to one of the soundtracks of my life, albeit only recently a small one, but the synchronicity involved with that is it's mind-boggling sometimes. But hey ho, there you go. So enjoy the rest of your day. Most of these chats won't be this long, but this one happened to be. See you later. Bye bye.